first obvious difference between prose and poetry is that prose is printed or written within the confines of margins, while poetry is written in lines that do not necessarily pay any attention to the margins, especially the right margin. There are vast, pre-formed regions of the astral plane that are the result of various influences and energies. Even when dreams may serve as a way to discover revelations in sacred stories, we tend to dismiss their value. Though we may not be of it, we are in it. To this framework, we add our own thoughts and feelings. The vision of unity, the wholeness of creation, has been lost. Curiosity about the missing part of the phrase impels the reader to hurry on. We need to find our field of dream. We leap with more energy over a ditch than over no ditch. This is why the brain, body, knows far more than our mind can process immediately. The labyrinth provided a place for contemplation, reflection, and ritual. When placed on the forehead over the third eye, they assist us in our astral voyages. There is always information in any sound that you perceive. It is best to use oils or acrylic paint, but pasting colored paper cutouts on the cards works also. Sounds beyond the limits of the ear may be gathered by other sensory systems of the body. I felt as if the understanding and the healing that came from confronting the dream were a gift the labyrinth led me to. Now listen very carefully. There was music available if participants wanted to turn on the sound system. These are actual doorways to the astral plane. One woman wrote to me recently about her experience. She had had a powerful dream a month before the conference. The word verse derives from the Latin and carries the meaning to turn, as in versus. Inclusive listening then opens us to all possibilities in the space-time continuum. I want you to imagine a bright white light coming down from above and entering the top of your head, filling your entire body. I had found this dream rather painful and frustrating, but I had really not thought past the literal circumstances. You are totally protected by this aura of pure white light. There may be a surprisingly strong relationship between the inner and outer experience of inclusive listening. We need to communicate with the choreographer of creation to hasten personal integration and spark collective vision. All of the waveforms faithfully transmitted to our auditory cortex by the ear and its mechanisms constitute our immediate soundscape. Now imagine an aura of pure white light emanating from your heart region, again surrounding your entire body, protecting you. See it, feel it, and it becomes reality. Within, and thus breaking a logical phrase, or only at the conclusions of sentences, or only at the ends of logical units, etc. Now begin to sense the vibrations around you, and in your own mind, begin to shape and pull them into a ring around your head. Do this for a few moments. Back in the mundane world, I'm still drawing nourishment, writing in ways I've been unable to do about deeper subjects, and with a new comfort about taking self-revealing risks in my poetry and my relations with other people. but it also has much to do with the visual presentation on the page. You will recall in detail, when you are physically awake, only these matters which will be beneficial to your physical and mental well-being and experience. The writer of non-metrical verse also has this end-of-the-line pause to work with and can choose among various ways of handling it. To create and make new, we need access to the field of collective imagination that speaks to us from a unifying source. Now only your masters and guides, higher self, and highly evolved loving entities who mean you well will be able to influence you during this or any other hypnotic session. In June 1994, I returned to Cayuga Conference Center to take part in a conference called Ancient Spiritual Paths, Soul Making, the Labyrinth, and the Dream. The ear is a faithful collector of all sounds that can be gathered within its limits of frequency and amplitude. But the labyrinth kept bringing it back up for me, nagging me almost, and I took that for an indication that I needed to get into the deeper levels of it. Since the poem is not following any imposed order, extending our awareness as far as possible to include any and all sounds places one in the center of the environment, with presence and relationship to all that is going on. Last night, having come to an interpretation that felt true, I went to the labyrinth with the clear intention of making peace with these buried parts of myself. Metaphysical literature reports doorways that allow a relatively easy and quick entrance into this other dimension. Poets today, who do not often write in the given forms, such as sonnets, need to understand what effects are created by the turning of the line at any of various possible points. Our bodies are cut off from our minds, and our minds are cut off from our evolving consciousness. Play New Age music for 2 minutes. When, on the other hand, the poet enjams the line, turns the line so that a logical phrase is interrupted, it speeds the line for 2 reasons. The Tatwa symbols developed by Hindu philosophers are associated with the ancient alchemical elements of ether, earth, fire, water, and air. Recording the flow of sounds through the space-time continuum like a journalist can promote a deeper understanding of your presence and meaning in the environment. Turning the line in free verse is associated not only with the necessary decision at each turn, I hope there will soon be a labyrinth in every city, at least one. Now as you focus in on how comfortable and relaxed you are, free of distractions, free from physical and emotional obstacles that prevent you from safely leaving and returning to the physical body, you will perceive and remember all that you encounter during this experience. Why should we be interested in the sound of traffic, or cafeteria noises, or the din of multitudinous conversations, or garbage cans crashing in the street at 2 a.m., or a pin dropping in a quiet place? Dreams, myths, stories, and insight through the imagination need to come back into the mainstream of our personal and collective awareness. Say the writer chooses to make the line self-enclosed. A self-enclosed line may be an entire sentence, or it may be a phrase that is complete in terms of grammar and logic, though it is only a part of a sentence. Much of the time we focus narrowly on our goals and objectives. In this narrow focus, we may discard or tune out sounds that are not yielding what we consider to be relevant information. The Norse doorway is a bridge of light, the Bifrost Bridge, that has a Heimdall, a golden youth, as its guardian. A spring flowing from a cave represents the Celtic doorway. A knight in black armor on a black horse is its guardian. There are avenues of inspiration and action for the transformation to occur. The purity and clarity of the colors should be as close to the primary color spectrum as possible. The body is continually sensing and recording all of the information that is delivered to the auditory cortex, even though we may not be conscious of this constant activity. The Italian, Spanish, French, and Phoenicians all use the same doorway image, a rock island shrouded in a mist with a discarnate wailing voice and a boat as its guardian. The whole room was just full of currents that evening, with people reaching out to one another in the most loving and natural ways, and the spiritual power was almost palpable. See it, feel it, and it becomes reality. After an initial introduction on the significance of the labyrinth and how to walk it, we opened the labyrinth with a ritual and left it open around the clock for the whole week. Coat these cards with clear gloss varnish to preserve the symbols and enhance their colors. In such a case, as in Ezra Pound's poem Salutation, for example, the pause works as an instant of inactivity in which the reader is invited to weigh the information and pleasure of the line. The best way to practice this exercise is to make a set of Tatwa cards. Cut white cardboard into 2-inch squares. Leave the back of each card white and recreate on the front of the card one of the 5 symbols in its corresponding color. We can enter the profound interplay of the universe through sound.